Ori, I'll come to you on this question. How do you see, Iran retaliating? Because there are media sources that are suggesting that the military is already ready to attack any warships that come in the Red Sea for the US. How do you think, is the region already prepared for it? And do you think that if this further escalates, how will that overall impact the relations between Iran as well as Israel?
I think Iran has various options. The most likely one is firing missiles at American bases throughout the Persian Gulf and the Middle East. I think it can also do some real damage to global shipping. I'm not convinced that this is necessarily the path Iran will take. I'm sure we will see some symbolic exchange of fire with regard to American bases, but I think Iran will focus most of its offensive efforts on Israel, as it has done so far, where we will see this continuing tit for tat for certainly a few more days, if not a week or so. But I think that what's being called a diplomatic effort, even by Prime Minister Modi, is certainly very much on the table. It is about crafting face-saving mechanisms that will allow Iran to retreat with some dignity and will also allow Israel to proclaim victory, as well as the United States. I just saw that Prime Minister Netanyahu made a statement about how he has fulfilled his promise and Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed. That is the same as President Bush's mission accomplished speech with regard to Iraq. That may be enough to get Israel to stop its strikes if Iran scales down its strikes. I'm not sure what sort of retaliation will actually take place, but I think that the Iranians enjoy this position of being the one who has to respond. Iranians don't necessarily like to initiate, so I think they consider their options as having just grown significantly because they are now in that position of the responder and not the person who generates or initiates the process.
Understood. And Pankaj, it's not just the oiling companies that might get impacted because of this. There are reports suggesting that Strait of Hormuz might be closed for operation, and there are a lot of exporters that could get impacted because of this. Secondly, if crude goes up, there are companies that use crude derivatives. For example, there is painting companies, there's oil developing companies that use this. A lot of FMCG companies also use oil derivatives. Just wanted to get a sense as to how this can impact companies that use oil derivatives, and of course exporters being impacted because of Strait of Hormuz being closed.
Well, Mahima, I still don't think so Iran will do something like that in terms of trying to, block Strait of Hormuz. If they really do that, then that really changes the base case, because in that case, oil prices can easily spike to $120, $30. And that can have a cascading impact on global economies, though I think it will still be a short-term event over the 6 to 12 weeks. I don't see Iran being able to hold on to closure of Strait of Hormuz for longer than that. But I completely agree with Ori. Probably Iran needs a respectable face-saver exit out of this, and no one wants this war really, including none of them in the Middle East, and probably President Trump the least in that sense. So I don't think, I don't still think that Iran will resort to something like that, but that would be really an extreme case and doesn't look like to be the case. But if it does have an impact, as you rightly said. Higher crude prices also means higher prices for all the derivatives basket in that sense. And it does have implications for India's macroeconomic fundamentals, because it does have cascading or spillover effects, not only on, as you said, on oil companies, but on inflation, because we'll have spillover effects of higher oil derivatives across every other commodity and consumption basket. And it will have macro impact in terms of currency and current account deficits. Having said that, the only point I want to highlight is India's macroeconomic fundamentals are very, very resilient, one of the strongest that I've seen in the last 15 years. So as long as any of these events do occur, if they are for a period of time, let's say for 8 to 12 weeks or something like that, India can still deal with them and be okay, but they will have some impact.